This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I am the host on our podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are going to continue our journey as we are understanding pathways, as we frame things together, as we think out loud together, because we're just gaining an understanding of our country. There are a lot of dynamics going on, and we're just going to dissect some things. And I just love us getting understanding together, because wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, but in all thy getting, get understanding. So our flag behind us represents our country, the 50 states in our nation. This seal represents our president, and praying for him and his cabinet. And guys, God wants us to unite as one in this great country. America's not perfect, but this is what we got. So we're going to continue to pray for the 265,900,000 working Americans who were living paycheck to paycheck last year, barely making ends meet. Things are changing, and we're going to see some powerful things unfold as we move forward. The majority of the citizens, we've spoken loud and clear. And people are flowing together because they want our country to work. They want our children to do well. And we want leadership to do well. I am particularly focused on our posterity, our children. So tonight, we're going to examine something that's generated a lot of conversation in our country, because we have a new leader. And so he has had an effect on most everything in our nation. And some people love it and some people are tripping out. And so we're going to talk about some specifics of the Trump effect. And all this ties in directly with our clinical perspective, which is changing leadership, changing weak leadership. Now, we're going to explore some specific things together. You know, I just don't get on here and just fly by the seat of my pants with talking about any old thing. We're going somewhere, and it's expecting us when we get there. And I want us to walk away with understanding and us flowing together as one, really feeling respected, really feeling loved. Anybody that knows me knows that that's my heart. That's how I am. That's how I flow. So there is an undeniable fact that many all over the nation and world are dealing with, and that there is something called the Trump effect. Why do I talk about President Trump? Because he affects so much that's going on in the world that affects every sphere of our operation. It really does, in terms of how this nation is run. Americans, not foreigners, continue to gain jobs, and foreign nationals are increasingly exiting the Trump economy, those that were here illegally. Citing Bureau of Labor Statistics data accessed through the Federal Reserve Economic Data System, Snopes, I call them Snopes. That's the one that checks and sees if anything's true, so forth and so on. Snopes, S-N-O-P-E-S. They indicated that under former President Joe Biden, native-born Americans' share of job gains from January 2024 to June of 2024 was 51.7%, while native-born Americans picked up roughly 1.09 million jobs. Foreign-born individuals reportedly grabbed 1.02 million jobs. Under President Trump, a year later, native-born Americans accounted for 100% of non-seasonally adjusted job gains from January to June of this year. The U.S. Department of Labor has revealed that this trend continued into subsequent months, stating wages are up, investments are pouring into our nation, and native-born workers are accounted for all job gains since January. According to the latest jobs numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the employment of American-born workers was up roughly 383,000 citizens during the summer. Meanwhile, foreign-born workers' numbers plunged by 467,000 during that time. Now, talking about the Trump effect. People were getting jobs that Americans normally were getting. And at like that Hyundai factory and other places, a lot of them being paid under the table, guys. And those people were not being paid wages. They were being unfairly paid. That's a whole system that bringing people paying under the table thing. Yeah, it is. And this is what's been going on with a lot of illegal immigrants who are working here, and Americans didn't have jobs. It affected things. Bloomberg noted that the imported workforce, a mix of legal and illegal immigrants, is down roughly 1.7 million jobs since March of this year. Now, E.J. Antoni is a chief economist at the Heritage Foundation. He is the chief economist at the Heritage Foundation's Grover M. Herman Center for the Federal Budget. They are a conservative think tank, and they do a lot of research. They are just somebody to learn from. They really are. I study a lot of stuff that they do, and it gives you a deeper look at things that you're just not going to look at. You're not going to obtain if you're just looking at CNN. So he noted that despite disappointing headlines, this jobs report was best, the one in July. We're just kind of framing something here. He said the one in July was the best ever for employment among native-born Americans, up $2 million year to year, and annual growth of 2.2 million faster than among foreign-born workers. And so there's a trend that's building going into the fall. Native-born American employment is now 1.8 million people above pre-pandemic level. The chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, Stephen Moran, I think is his name, Moran, he stated, we're talking about the Trump effect, he said that since President Trump took office, he has created about 2.5 million jobs for Americans, whereas we've eliminated about 1 million jobs for foreign-born workers. That's a result of our strong immigration policy, of our strong border policy. Remember, we went 3 consecutive months being at zero with illegal immigrants crossing the border? That's powerful stuff. That's strong leadership. All this is related to our strong border policy, keeping America safe. Eventually, the outflow of foreign workers in these data, all this data that we're looking at, were bound to show up in the establishment surveys, as they finally did. The jobs reports indicated further. Let's see, when we look back at July, for example, going towards the end of the summer, 73,000 new jobs were added. The unemployment rate rose significantly not significantly, I'm so sorry. The unemployment rate rose slightly, not significantly. It rose slightly to 4.2%. The labor force participation rate was 62%. Actually 62.2%, and the federal government continued to lose jobs. That happens every administration, guys. Every administration. And people are belly aching about the federal jobs are going away under Trump. They did under every administration. Federal government continued to lose jobs following the release of the latest jobs report during the end of the summer. We're into the fall now, but we're looking at a pattern. Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith, Republican out of, I think he's out of Missouri. Or was it Montana? I think he's out of Missouri. Stated, unlike during the Biden administration, when taxpayers were forced to pay for millions of new bureaucrats while watching their grocery and gas bills skyrocket, President Trump's economy is freeing the private sector to create new jobs with more financial security for American families. It's almost as though President Trump has spent his life in the business world, and he is aware of what every decision he makes will accomplish. He is intentional. He's incredibly intentional, and a lot of people, they try to paint him as a goofball. What every decision he makes will accomplish. He thinks that way. He's strategic. Perhaps now is a good time to discuss the effectiveness of a president who is not a career politician. President Trump makes decisions after looking at all the pieces on the board. Career politicians spin first. They spin first, and then they see what happens. If the project fails, they simply keep spending more to fix the problem. They just throw money at it, which is a direct result of never having to spend your own money. Now, let's remember the stark contrast between a business person running to change the country. We've never had that before, not like now. A business person running to change this country, and the career politicians who are running to enhance their own portfolios with our money. Oh yeah, all of that, you had your inside trading. That's just on both sides, guys. Do we benefit from stuff like that? I tell you, listen. Oh yeah, and then we had what was going on with the illegal immigrants, the NGOs, USAID, 83% of those entities have been shut down, and what's remaining is under the watchful eye of Marco Rubio, who's doing an outstanding job. He's doing outstanding. I think eventually, down the road, he's going to end up being one of our presidents. He's worked hard. Wow. We've just got a lot of prospects of things that are going to unfold. You got Vice President J.D. Vance. I like every time he talks, the man's sharp. We got a lot of good things going on. Anyone who cannot see any positive changes, any positive things that have occurred in this nation under the Trump administration, listen, guys, there's a lot that's going to unfold. We're going to be dissecting some things. There's so much drama going on. I will never run out of content to come on here and talk about. There's a lot of dynamics going on, and we're going to be dissecting a lot of it, all the attacks on certain people and the dynamics thereof. And listen, guys, we're going to go all the way because wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. But in all that getting, get understanding. Anyone who cannot see any positive things that have occurred in this nation under President Trump's administration are simply not being intellectually honest. They are in stark denial. Remember, DENIAL, don't even notice I am lying. DENIAL, don't even notice I am lying. In our nation, a dynamic which is real involves those who are simply weak leaders. We've had weak leaders, guys. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were weak leaders. Obama was a Trojan horse that just ushered in certain things. If you don't know it, you haven't been paying attention. You just haven't. So now he was still involved. So we have the Obama, Biden, Harris cabal. So leadership really matters. From our clinical perspectives tonight, we're going to explore the dynamics of changing weak leadership. Weak leadership. It leads to a variety of negative consequences for individuals, teams, and organizations and a nation. These include decreased morale, increased employee turnover, reduced productivity, and a decline in innovation and overall success. It can also foster a toxic work environment characterized by lack of trust, poor communication, and a general sense of dissatisfaction. Now, let's take a more detailed look at the consequences. Let's look at the consequences at an individual level about leadership, because it's going to affect individuals. There can be a decreased morale and job satisfaction. Employees may feel undervalued, leading to decreased motivation and engagement as a result of weak leadership. I've seen that. I've seen weak, I've seen strong. I like strong. I'm a strong leader. We're in the spheres that I'm in, and we have strong teams and get amazing, outstanding results. Then there's increased stress and burnout. Oh yeah, when you have weak leadership, it can contribute to increased stress and burnout. There's a lack of clear direction, support, and recognition can lead to increased stress and potentially burnout, guys, when the leadership doesn't know how to step up to the plate and do the right thing. Then a reduced sense of well-being, negative impacts. This negatively impacts mental and physical health. That's what can occur as a result of a stressful and unsupportive work environment. Consequences. See, all of these are consequences that affect a team. So there are consequences even at a team level. We were looking at individuality. From a team level, it affects poor communication and collaboration. It leads to weak leadership, can have a hindering effect on effective communication, leading to what? Misunderstandings and conflict. I've been in the midst of that, and it's like, Lord have mercy, what are we doing here? But I've seen just the opposite, and I love when we communicate. Oh yeah. Then you can have lower productivity and missed deadlines. President Trump is just the opposite of this. He is about being on task. And as we've uncovered things, it's just willy-nilly who was in charge. Previously, we were all over the place. So when you have this weak leadership, it leads to lower productivity and missed deadlines. There are no goals. We just doing stuff. And especially if it's sinister, you're flying by the seat of your pants, driven by corruption. This is what was going on with these NGOs and USAID and DEI. When air traffic controllers were taken out of the employment pool, my white Americans, and taken out of the employment pool overnight. Why? Because they were white. Why? They were wanting to focus on hiring people that weren't even qualified. This is why the mess has been going on in airports. Can you imagine not hiring people, 1,000 people that were qualified, not hiring them, and they were direly needed, and they weren't hired because they were white. That was under Buttigieg. And the LGBTQ, I love my LGBTQ fellow citizens. I love and respect you. You know I do. But when that is used to affect people get hiring that affects the safety of our nation, that's a concern. And you know how I feel about the children. There's a lack of clear direction, guys, and accountability. All this results in decreased output and missed goals, and that was rampant under the Obama, Biden, Harris cabal. It's easy to prove, and we talk about those things, why we want us to understand. Then there's high turnover and absenteeism. Employees may seek other opportunities if they are unhappy with the leadership. They're just unhappy. They're going to go somewhere else a lot of times. There's something called reduced innovation and creativity that affects the team. A fear-based environment or lack of support for new ideas can stifle innovation and creativity. Then, things get affected on an individual level, a team's level, and then there's an overall organizational level. Financial losses can occur. Reduced productivity, increased turnover, and decreased innovation can negatively impact the entire organization's bottom line. What I do is directly connected to the bottom line, the money. I've got to clinically line things up so we get paid. So I've got to be able to have good relationships, and it affects the productivity and keeping us online, on point, in accordance with the bottom line being met, because we have a clinical criteria to fulfill. But it's got to be organized. It's got to be strategic. It's got to be teamwork. It's on an individual level. It's on a team level, and it's on an organizational level. What happens if these things don't happen and you're not on your game? It can negatively impact the bottom line, and then there's damaged reputation. Negative experiences with weak leadership leads to the reputation of an organization, of individuals being damaged. So what happens then is reduced ability to attract and retain talent. That's what can happen as well. It causes a negative reputation, can make it more difficult to attract and to retain top talent. Yes. All this has to do with leadership, all the Trump effect. Trump wants strong leaders. He doesn't play. And he has leaders that are strong. You got to have people with backbone. Then there's something called the lack of accountability. Weak leaders may fail to hold themselves accountable or their team members accountable. Guys accountable. That is one of the biggest things I've embraced. If I miss it, or I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I'd give my team and say, whoa, wait a minute. I need to hear what I'm thinking. We need to talk about this thing out loud. And if I miss it, one of the biggest things I've ever learned to do as a leader is to say, I missed it. Hold on. And people love that. That's one of the biggest things I ever did with my son. Son, I apologize. I missed it. Mama missed it. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Took our relationship to another level, and it takes your relationships as teams, as leaders, take it to another level. When you lack responsibility, it can affect the performance of the entire team. Then there's something called poor decision making. Without strong leadership, decisions may be delayed, poorly informed, or based on personal biases rather than strategic thinking. You have to have strategic thinking. I believe that's the strength of Donald Trump. It's got strategic thinking. It speaks for itself. Then there's a fear-based environment that people can have. Leaders who rely on intimidation or punishment can create a climate of fear. But when we're working as a team and we have goals and we're working towards it together, communication flourishes, innovation flourishes, results flourish. They flourish, guys. They just do. Then there's the failure to recognize and reward contributions. When employees feel their work is not valued, they're more likely to become disengaged and look for other opportunities. They do. People need to be recognized. Oh yeah, be recognized for what they've done. Listen. These dynamics make for a strong nation. They make for a strong leadership. And I really believe that Donald Trump It's called the Trump effect. He's a strong leader. We've got results. Peace treaties. People investing billions and trillions of dollars into our nation. People starting off in salaries $80,000, $90,000 a year. That's amazing. That's good stuff. We're winning. People feeling safe. We don't have biological men in the showers with women in our military. They feel safe. They don't feel violated. The Trump effect. Oh, yeah. Listen. This is powerful stuff, and our clinical perspective was changing weak leadership. These dynamics that I've gone over tonight, guys, this is how we become great. This is how we have a plan of success. In my opinion, I believe we have a president who thinks in terms of plans for our success. It's really not that hard to prove. Look. We're going to keep going somewhere. We're going to keep showing up. We're going somewhere. It's expecting us when we get there. I can't tell you how much I appreciate, love, and respect all of you, your support. I honor you. I bless you. I pray over you. I'm praying over your children, your families, your situations, your future, your opportunities. If you do good, it blesses me. If I do good, it blesses you. This is America. This is how we're supposed to be. And President Trump wants us to do well. I mean, I can just tell by the Trump accounts, that whole thing about the Trump accounts. That's an indication of him wanting to do well. Any child born between 2025 and 2028, they get seed money. That is like an IRA, and it's protected. And if you save money and put $5,000 a year in those accounts, it's tax deferred, it's protected, it grows. By the time they're 18, $90,000 will be in there from just putting that in, but it's been invested in stocks and bonds, and it's going to grow. And then when they're 18, they can withdraw money with no penalty for their education, down payment on a house, or to start a business. Who has ever heard of that? That's the Trump effect. I will close on that. Listen, guys, keep coming back. We're going somewhere. It's expecting us when we get there, as we go together from destruction to dignity. We want a destructive path, but we're on a different path. Dignity, from destruction to dignity. Clinical perspective, strategy, skills, tools, structure, way of thinking, us flowing together as one, loving each other, praying for each other, supporting each other. Spiritual truth. God has a great plan for America. It's amazing, guys, what we can do together. A house divided against itself cannot stand, but together we can do great things, and that would be us. I will see you guys next week. Blessings. I love you. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
We are one power, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation.